Welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here back getting firing for another massive installment of the Daily Dribble podcast. Joining me, Mr. Lee Hancock.
Going on, guys? Lee here.
Also joining us, Mr. Roy Hancock.
Yeah, nice to be here. Glad to be here.
Guys, the boys are back. We are electric today. Big energy in the room. We came in last week with our new equipment. We had a couple of little technical errors here and there, but we are back today, refreshed, reinvigorated, and looking forward to another big installment. It is All-Star Weekend. We're going to touch on that next week, but it's such a great time to be a basketball fan, isn't it, lads?
Oh, it's the most exciting time of the year by far.
We've had the trade deadline. Now straight into All-Star. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is our favourite, which we spoke about last week on last week's episode. So Big stuff on that one. We do have a big episode in store, though, today, guys. We're going to quickly rattle through some odds and ends that have occurred throughout the week. We're then going to touch on, the league is driven by stars. And sometimes it's the unsung heroes that kind of provide, almost unseen benefits to a lot of these championship contending teams. So today we're going to kind of, touch on some of these unsung heroes, speak about the teams we think have the best benches and that will probably impact the playoffs the most going forward. So a lot to look forward to there. We'll also recap a couple of quick points from the week that was. A couple of quick housekeeping points. My favorite part of the episode. I love it. Guys, a big thank you for all your continued support, liking, subscribing, commenting, doing all that great stuff on all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. We love it. We certainly appreciate it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Shout out to the Spotlight Sports Network, a US-based network there, bringing the latest and greatest for sporting podcasters and content creators. We're super stoked to be a part of them and love everything that they're doing. And also a new partnership that we unveiled during the week with The Cover. Founder and CEO, Liam McGrath, we've been in contact a lot with over the last, month or two and really getting the wheels turning on this one. So this is a platform, for content creators, mainly in the sports and pop culture area, to kind of express themselves and help grow their own brand as well as the brand of The Cover. So we've officially jumped on board. You can find all of our episodes there, www.thecover.com.au. And super excited about that partnership moving forward. We've got a lot of big things in the work and can't wait to see where it goes. So a big shout out to Liam and The Cover.
Sure.
All right, guys, let's get into it. No mucking around today. I want to get straight into odds and ends. And I'm just going to start with the point that, we spoke about last week, the trade deadline, some big trades going in on that one.
Mm-hmm.
During the week, though, we had some news that Indiana, after just acquiring Tristan Thompson, they're going to be waiving him.
Didn't give him a chance.
Oh, he played 3 games, I believe it was. His last game actually was quite a showing. I think he had 18 points or so. Quite impressive. But he'll now be joining the Bulls. Yep. So what do we think of this one, lads? Tristan Thompson, I think he can still play capable minutes. He's an NBA champion with the Cavs there. But he'll be a handy backup, to Vooch. I think he's more competent than Tony Bradley, that's for sure. So how do we feel about this move?
Yeah, I don't mind it, to be honest. He's certainly not a bum, is he? Like he is serviceable. And going on to a team which will be contending at the end of the season, I think it certainly can't hurt. As you said, it's sort of just big man insurance for Vooch, really.
Absolutely.
And to provide him with a bit of backup when he is playing. So I really like it. What do you reckon, Lee?
It's weird. It shocked me initially because he's not a guy you waive because he's, like Rose said, he's not a bum. And it took no time for the Bulls to pick him up. I think the tweet that Woj Shams put out about him being waived was the same tweet saying Billy Donovan and the Bulls picked him up. So he didn't stay out of a team for long, did he?
Bulls talk, real quick. Bulls talk. Are they a contender, do you believe? A legitimate contender? Because there's a lot going around whether they're for real or not. Do we seriously believe at the end of the day they're going to compete with the Nets, with the 76ers, with the Bucks, with the Heat in the East? What do we reckon?
Oh, throughout the course of the season, I've been swaying back and forth, to be perfectly honest.
Yep.
But the more I see of them and the more I see of DeMar DeRozan specifically, who is just in the biggest purple patch right now. He's unbelievable MVP caliber form. I think they can if all their star players are playing at their highest potential, which at times, particularly recently, they have been. So I long story short, yes, they can definitely contend for the championship.
Big guy, what do you
I
reckon?
mean, from the beginning of the season, they came out hot, and I've been high on them ever since then. At the start, it was probably a bit, bias of me to like recency bias, but now, no, I do believe they're in true contention. It obviously hurts having Caruso and Lonzo down, but once they're back, they're going to be fit and firing. I think they're true contenders.
Well, I think their bulk of work kind of proves it. We see teams like the Wizards, like the Knicks, start the season so hotly, yet they just drop off so quickly.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
now that, I guess, for the Bulls, they started so hot and they're continuing that form now, it's kind of, I guess, their bulk of work proves that they should be considered a legitimate contender. A lot, though, will rely on the health. Zach LaVine, Caruso, Lonzo Ball, these are big outs at the minute. If they can get everyone back fit and firing and healthy, I think they're the real deal.
They are huge outs, but they've got a trait that all the championship contending teams have, and that is next man up mentality. If they've had plenty of injuries throughout the course of the season, as you were mentioning a few names there, Nick, and somehow they're still one of the, if not the form team of the competition at the moment. So when they get these players back, watch out, because they will be out to get any team who's opposing them in the playoffs. That's for sure.
I know Apex loves our Chicago Bulls talk. Big shout out to him as well, releasing his new single Coffee Shop there. So, mate, absolutely stoked for you.
I like that song.
Unbelievable stuff. So, hope you enjoyed the
V
Bulls talk as
song.
well. Yeah. Valentine's Day. You quickly, lads. Did you do anything for that one? We've all got partners now, don't we? So,
dearie me,
I'm going to plane tickets. Good boyfriend.
Where are you going?
Plane tickets.
Melbs. A couple months. Melbourne.
Goodness me, I seem like a terrible partner at the moment. Just,
are you a flowers guy? Right?
He didn't do much. You get a card?
I didn't get a card. I got given a card, which makes my case seem even worse. I think we just had a takeaway, to be honest with you.
I want to go with a bit of news. You know how I feel like ever since we've started the podcast, there's been someone that we're sick of talking about. Started with James Harden with the Houston situation, went on to be Ben Simmons with the Philadelphia 76ers. Yep. I'm going to say I'm sick of hearing about Zion now. Yes, he's going to go. Apparently, he may have to have a second foot surgery because of his soreness in his right foot. So,
meant to be back training in December there, wasn't he? And it's just been one setback after another for him. Are we? I know it's still early, but
Greg Oden 2.0.
I was about to say, is he almost a bust?
No, he's not a bust, but I wasn't Joel Embiid out for like 2 seasons.
Yes.
When he came into the NBA, I think it sucks that he's out, but he's going to come back, and I think he will have injury scares, but he's not a bust by any means.
Yeah, he's a big guy though. He's a big guy. And it's just been like one thing after another with him. He hasn't been able to find consistent time on the court. I've said it time and time again. I really do feel sorry for all the Pelicans supporters out there.
Yep.
I would seriously be worried right now, because this team, as we spoke about last week, acquiring CJ McCollum. You've got Valanciunas, you've got Brandon Ingram, who's playing at a borderline all-star level. There's a lot to like about this team, and the big key cog in that is getting Zion back. And it just feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel at the moment.
I actually think the Pelicans are slightly worried. Like, I know picking up CJ McCollum obviously went into their calculations when thinking, well, how do we keep Zion here? But I think another part of it was, if Zion doesn't come back, or if he never returns to what we think he might be capable of, at least we're going to have CJ McCollum, who's an out-and-out dominant scorer. But I'm very concerned for Zion because, these injuries seem to continue throughout the course of these guys' career. Luckily, it's happened right at the very start, so he's got a lot of time to sort of pick it back up. But geez,
it sucks because he's got and he was billed as the next big thing.
Yeah,
I guess the next phase of LeBron, like the league. altering star.
Rightly so, though, because just remember him out on the court when he was out there.
Well, with Duke, he was just an absolute animal.
Yeah. I mean, but even with the Pelicans, he would score 30 points a game, and that would be almost an average.
Yeah.
I miss him, but I'm sick of talking about him and when he'll come back. You know.
Speaking of other players who have got a few injuries, after just being traded to the Clippers, Norman Powell is set to be out indefinitely after a fractured foot. So another foot injury there. And I guess for the Clippers, it's almost, they're in the plane at the moment, but should they almost just look ahead to next year already? They've got still a team that can compete on any given night. We've seen that over the last week or two. But, Kawhi's out, PG's out, Norman Powell's out now. Should they start to look ahead to next year, do you think? Or should they kind of keep things afloat? Hopefully Powell comes back at the back end of maybe the regular season, get Paul George back, Kawhi maybe. Or what do you reckon? Do they still go for it this year?
No, if they're not looking towards next year already instead of this year, I don't know what they're doing, because they're kind of I want to compare them to Brooklyn Nets when they didn't have KD and Kyrie, and they were kind of playing with just Spencer Dinwiddie and a couple of things like that. They're not. They're Clippers right now aren't a team that wins and even gets to the playoffs. So if I was them, I'd be definitely looking to next year.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I think they would have been looking towards next year regardless.
But surely Stevie Ballmer, the amount of money this guy's invested, surely he wants win.
I think he's a smart man, though, and I think he knows that without Kawhi Leonard, this team won't be able to contend with the absolute best come the pointy end of the year. Come next year, when Kawhi Leonard's back, hopefully, and Paul George is at full fitness, and they've got these supporting pieces, as you're mentioning, Norman Powell. Goodness me, they could be, easily a top 3 or 4 team in the West. But it's just not their year this year. It's plain and obvious to see at this point.
What even happened to Kawhi Leonard again? What injury did he have?
Oh, I've forgotten that guy's.
Yeah,
he's made of glass. But still incredible talent when he is on the floor. One of the top probably 5 players in the league, you would say.
Yep.
Probably offensively and defensively.
I was about to say, is that two-way play? Him and Giannis are probably the 2 best two-way players in the league.
Yes, without a doubt.
Without going into it too much. Another big injury and a bit of blow for me, especially given he's just come back. Anthony Davis of the Lakers expected to miss 4 weeks after a high or a mid-foot sprain. It happened the other day in their game against the Jazz. Phenomenal game that. Tell you what, Austin Reeves with a clutch bucket. But, a big blow to AD and for the Lakers. They're absolutely stuttering at the moment. And missing one of that key big 2, him and LeBron, and he just came back as well. So this is less than ideal. I guess the only silver lining is it's come right as that All-Star break. So 4 weeks, he's probably going to miss, 3 weeks of actual game time. But a big blow nevertheless, and it's starting to become a recurring theme, I guess, for him. Injuries building up now.
Well, he's earned a new nickname, and that's Glass Man. And it's not because he's getting boards, it's because he's easily broken. And you can see how he's earned that nickname so far, can't you? He's just one of these guys who can't string a few weeks together without getting injured. And, it's extremely disappointing, particularly for my fantasy team. Goodness me, I've kept with that guy throughout the course of the year, and he's let me down. But no, in all seriousness, I hope he comes back bigger, better, and stronger at the right end of the year for the Lakers. But at this point, you just don't know if he'll get a consistent run at it.
Just quickly, what a shit year for fantasy.
Oh, terrible.
I tell you what a horrible year just in regards to players' injuries, in regards to COVID, everything of the kind. It's just gone off an absolute cliff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm second in the league, so I don't really care.
Not for long.
No, you're
not for long.
No, but if you're the Lakers right now, you're really scared. You're already struggling to proceed with AD on the court. Yep. Without AD, I'm sorry, but you're not proceeding.
Well, can we just touch on LeBron quickly? During the week, he became the all-time leading league scorer, including playoffs.
Yep.
Now, often with these counting stats, we often don't include the playoffs. So at the moment, Kareem still leads. But in terms of overall bulk of work, the most points scored when you combine the playoffs, LeBron is now officially number 1. He surpassed the mark of 44,149.
Goodness me.
Not far away on the all-time regular season stats of passing Karl Malone at number 2.
Yeah.
And certainly making, well on track to passing Kareem there. But it's just so funny because often LeBron's spoken about that passing's not. Oh, no, sorry, should I say scoring's not his greatest asset? It's his passing.
Absolutely.
But this guy has now become the all-time leader in points scored. It's just ridiculous.
It's unheard of, and you sort of feel very lucky to be in this point of time where you're witnessing history. You're witnessing a guy who could potentially go down as the league's all-time leading scorer. It's unbelievable. What I didn't like throughout the week was when this record was announced, there was people downplaying it, almost saying that, they make up these sort of records for LeBron. But at the end of the day, you're talking about a guy who, in both regular season and playoffs, where ultimately that's where it counts, has gone to number one on the all-time points scored. It's just an unreal achievement. And anyone saying that, they make up these records for LeBron, he makes these records. They don't make them up for LeBron, that's for sure.
Can I just digress slightly? In terms of if you're a sporting fan, this has got to be a golden age, does it not? Like in terms of all manner of sports. You look at basketball, we're in the age of LeBron.
Yeah.
You look at tennis, there's Djokovic, Federer, Nadal. You go to soccer, you've got the Messi-Ronaldo debate. NFL, Tom Brady just retired. But in terms of all sports, it is such a golden age. And you're looking, I guess, the next 3 years when all these, I guess, legends potentially retire, how different the landscape's going to look. Like it is we're, I guess, so lucky to live in this time and to see all these incredible performances and performers. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of years to see, I guess, in all sports, as I just alluded to, I guess the next wave step up. So
it's going to be so weird when LeBron retired, but when LeBron retires, because there was MJ, there's been LeBron. What's coming next? Are we confident that someone's going to be able to match?
Is it Luka?
No. Sorry, Luka, but it's not Luka.
It's a combination of players, I reckon. It's Giannis, it's Luka, it's
Ja Morant.
Potentially Ja. Yep. I think there's a few players who are ready to, take the league on. But
is there a player who can, I guess, that looks set to be, I guess, when you look at that Mount Rushmore, the top couple of players of all time, is there a player poised to insert themselves into that conversation?
There's no
out-and-out player.
No,
there's not. But I certainly think Giannis will be in and around the picture at the end of his career. That's for sure.
Do you know what? That's why they'll probably trying to get Zion in that light. They were trying to make him the next LeBron and the next MJ.
Yep.
Just wasn't to be.
Just quickly, a last point from me. An old face is potentially making a return to the league.
Who's this?
This is Tyreke Evans. He's been reinstated into the league after being suspended in 2019 due to, I guess, violating the anti-drug program. So it's been about 3 years since he's been out of the league, 32 years old now. But he's a free agent. He's set to, I reckon, attract quite a few offers. So we might finally see him back within the league. Now, how do we feel about this? It's a guy, he's done the wrong thing. He's paid his dues. Are we happy to see him potentially back in the league?
Yeah, he's done his jail time.
Yeah, I mean,
his jail time. He's not done jail time. He's just been kicked out of the league.
No, but he's done the equivalent. People go to jail and they get out. This guy's got banned and he's not banned now.
I mean, he suffered his punishment, I guess, is what we're taking out of this. And I'm very glad to see him back. I remember early days in his career, he was touted as being potentially one of the future stars. So it's sort of sad how his career has panned out. As you said, he's now 32 years of age. Now, Nick, do you think the Lakers are likely to chuck a cheeky minimum contract at Tyreke? Because I think, based off what I'm hearing, they could very well be one of the teams who say, look, come on over, even for a 10-dayer.
Mate, at this point, I'm really open to trying anything. If Jack Harlow at this point. In the celebrity game, anyone and everyone, I think, is almost worth a 10-day contract.
Justin Bieber?
JB.
Adam Sandler, I think, is the guy.
God.
I'm so surprised he hasn't got a gig in the All-Star, in the celebrity game
No,
yet.
he definitely would have refused.
That guy's a sharpshooter. Just, for anyone out there, go watch Grown Ups. Just look at him make the bank shot 100 times out of 100.
Have you just seen him in general? Like, just playing
he's a gun.
He is a bowler. He is a certified hooper. So, I'm open to that.
Yep.
I'm open to that.
You're open to anything, though. Come on now. It's the Lakers. They're literally the laughing stock of the league right now. They don't know what to do. They don't know who to sign. They don't know who they're going to have on the court at each
it's
given
disarray
day.
at the moment.
That's the perfect word for it. They're just in such disarray.
Fellas, do you have anything else from the NBA odds and ends?
No, that's been such a comprehensive wrap-up, I reckon.
Beautiful. I'm going to really quickly rip through a couple of NBL points here.
Yeah,
now, last week, we mentioned how the Jack Jumpers were on a bit of a win streak. They were on a 4-game win streak. Came to an end at the hands of the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. They went down 83-71. Once again, it was a second half fade that cost them. They were up 2 at halftime, but it's been a bit of a recurring theme for the team. Faded in that second half. Mitch Creek, a bit under the weather for this one, but hit a couple of key threes and really put the game to bed. Nevertheless, though, really positive signs for the team moving forward. Did it without Will Magnay. He's going to be out for the next few weeks.
That hurts.
It does hurt. A key part of that team. They've got the Illawarra Hawks tomorrow. So a big test there, once again without Magnay. So hopefully a few of the boys can step up and get that win streak back on track.
Yep.
Just quickly, though, the Sydney Kings, they've seen a bit of a resurgence in the last few weeks after starting the season slowly. They have signed, though, after, former NBA player and championship winner, went to the CBA over in China there. Joining them now, I tell you what, Ian Clark.
Yes.
This is a guy who is, he played 330 games within the NBA. And he, just from the last couple of games he's played for the team, has just added another dimension to this team. Paired alongside Xavier Cooks, Jarrell Martin, they are, after, as I said, a slow start, a really formidable team going forward. So certainly look out for them.
Yep.
And last point, a top-of-the-table clash almost the other night. Melbourne United against the Phoenix. Once again, Melbourne won that one 94-87. But the key takeaway for this is, Ro, after, all the talk pretty much over the last few years of, I guess, Bryce Cotton, the MVP, I'm thinking we might almost have a new MVP frontrunner for this season.
Who you reckon?
Cotton's certainly up there, but the big man, Joe Lawal-Achul.
How good is that guy?
Unbelievable. He is unconscious at the minute. He had 30 points, 9 rebounds, 11 of 13 from the field, and 3 of 3 from 3. He is very, very reminiscent of last season's big man, Jock Landale.
I was just about to mention this. The statistical output that he's bringing on a night-to-night basis is very reminiscent.
He's averaging 16.5 and 10.
Yep.
And I really, really think a lot of NBA teams, I believe he's 27, if memory serves correct, will be looking at him in the offseason because he is just bowling. His ability to shoot, to stretch the floor is key. There's not many other big men within the league that can do what he's doing on a nightly basis. And he, you look at this team, Chris Goulding, Matthew Dellavedova. They're kind of the two big names, but it's been big JLA. Big JLA has been dominating. Yep. So I think if you're looking at the MVP odds, Cotton's certainly up there, and JLA. Watch out for him. I reckon we'll see him in the NBA next season.
100% agree. He's one of these guys who we've said for a while now that particularly this year, so much good NBA caliber type players in the NBL, and he's certainly one of them. And he's been so good to watch this year. He's dominant.
Watch out for him.
He makes good players look quite ordinary.
He does. He does. The similarities, as we said, between him and Jock Landale, unreal. So watch out for him going forward. If you like a bit of a flutter, I wouldn't argue against you if you looked at him for MVP. Cotton's going to be up there, but JLA, watch out.
Absolutely.
Guys, let's move ahead.
The Daily Dribble.
Bang. Playoff teams. As we said, playoff teams, a big key part of this. The rotation normally shortens as you go into the playoffs, but you still have to have a good bench. So today we're going to shine a light on a bit of the players that make up these benches and who we think are going to be impactful going forward. So, Lee, we might start with you in terms of who you think on the bench.
Yeah.
Whether it's a team, whether it's a specific player. Who have you got here for us?
I have always been really high on the Atlanta Hawks bench. I think they've been really strong. I think they started it when it probably would have been last season, 2020-21 season, when they signed players like, I think they started off with Gallinari. They signed Bogdanovic. They signed Lou Will, who, by the way, just passed, I think, Del Curry for most games off the bench. I think
I did see that.
What was it, 985?
Something ridiculous.
They got Delon Wright. And I was like, this is a lot of scoring when I first saw why they signed all these players. But it's proved pretty well because, it really needs someone on the court that can do something when Trey isn't. And in those 12 to 14 minutes that Trey isn't on the court, you need someone to fill his role, and I think they do that perfectly. So Atlanta Hawks for my first one.
I do not disagree at all. I think they have one of the most talented benches. No denying that. My big concern with them is I think I don't think it's quite slid yet, but I think they've missed a real opportunity to kind of cut down their bench and bring in someone better.
Yeah.
I think their bench almost last year, we spoke about it quite extensively, even this season, is almost too deep. There's not enough minutes for all the players. The fact that you could have, there were still good trade assets, probably don't need Lou Williams, probably could have looked to move on from Gallinari, and they still might. But I think they've got enough there that they can kind of consolidate a really strong, maybe 9-10 players and bring in, trade a few of the assets they have at the minute and bring in a few other players to just shorten that rotation a little bit.
Yeah.
But 100% their scoring output. And just a player you didn't mention, I think a guy.
I know who you're going to say. I think.
Who you got?
Okongwu?
Yeah. 100%. That's the
good.
guy. That is the guy. I think we're going to see more of him starting potentially.
Yeah.
I like him more than Capella. Acapella. I nearly called him.
I don't like him more than Capella, but I do like him.
But I think Capella's a real good asset to possibly trade because Okongwu is slightly undersized, but what he brings on the defensive end is just intensity, is hustle, is rim protection, athleticism. I like him. But coming off the bench, what an asset. What an asset.
If you're the Atlanta Hawks, what do you reckon is their weak point at the moment?
That's what I was thinking. Like, where are they weak?
Because if they're looking at, compiling a few of these sort of handy role players and maybe even Capella, who I would say is more than a role player, what would you be looking at getting back in terms of positional player? What kind of player would you look at getting?
Are you looking like a 3-and-D player?
I think so. But then again, John Collins can almost fill that role. A guy who we don't touch on a real lot. Probably almost underrated at this point. I don't know. I'd have to do a bit of a deep dive into the Hawks to see what that key piece is they're missing.
In my mind, they've got a lot of shooters.
Yes.
So do they necessarily need another shooter?
Interior presence, you've got a Okongwu off the bench, but apart from that, it's a lot of scorers, a lot of outside scorers, should I say. So possibly you could look to trade for
Miles Turner as a rim protector.
And offload Capella, you reckon?
I mean,
could you do a straight swap almost for those two?
I don't know why you would.
Where's he at? With the Pacers,
well,
just with their team construction at the minute. I tell you what, though, that wouldn't be a bad trade just for the fact the Pacers already have a lot of outside talent. Halliburton can knock down the three. Buddy Hield out there in Indiana bowling at the minute.
Yeah,
that guy has got just flames coming out of his arse cheeks.
He does.
He is
Absolutely.
killing it.
Yep.
I don't mind that. You'd have to look at the salary situation and things of the kind, but almost a straight swap with a few little pieces around the edges could work.
Look, I'll see how we go on the old trade machine.
The dreaded trade machine. Fire up. But I like that. The Hawks. And
same.
to be honest, I think they're going to have to rely pretty heavily, given where they're situated at the minute.
Yeah.
They've got a pretty big mountain to climb, but they do have the depth and talent there to get there.
Yes.
My team, though, I've started with is the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Cavs.
Now, I've almost jumped on board jumped on board with them as my token team this season.
Yep.
I wouldn't say I've given up on the Lakers by any stretch, but if the Cavs take it out, I'm going to be absolutely stoked as if they're my team. They're so fun to root for, given their underdog status. But their bench is something I'm really, really fond of, just because they've got a great mix of scoring, of passing, and of experience. Now, I reckon Kevin Love, this has got to be one of the most phenomenal turnarounds. Last year, we spoke about it pretty extensively, the fact that there was almost a falling out between him and the Cavs franchise as a whole. He is having just about a career season. The way he has embraced that kind of sixth man role, shooting the lights out, playing with heart, playing with passion. It's so fun to see him do his thing.
Okay, can I just say something real quick?
If you're going to bash on K-Love here.
I'm not. I am a little bit.
What do you got? What do you got?
I don't feel like enough people talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. K-Love, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but he was only interested in playing for the Cavs when they started getting good. Okay, I'm going to say it.
But maybe it's the fact that the front office made moves to actually want him to stay. Maybe it was the personnel.
Like he's the star piece. Like he's the Zion that the Pelicans want to stay. Kevin Love's no star piece. I think it's cheap from him. And I don't hate him, but I've definitely looked at him in a different light ever since he's kind of made these moves. He's sneaky with it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to play good now that we're good. I don't love it.
But is the reason that they're good the fact he's playing well?
No, because now he wants to stay. Now he wants to stay. When they were playing bad, he didn't.
But I don't necessarily blame him for being down in the dumps because at the end of the day, yes, they were losing, but he was also living in Cleveland, Ohio.
True. If you're losing on top of that, there's not much to be excited about.
That's just, it's not great. But just quickly on K-Love, third in 6 Man of the Year contention at the moment. That's unbelievable given where his career was at not too long ago. So, he's been great, but
I guess transitioning on that, depending what lineup they deploy, you've still got Cedi Osman, you've got Rondo bringing that experience and that playmaking, and I don't know if you guys saw the quote the other week. The fact was it game 1 or game 2, he took Darius Garland up the back of the butt. Did we mention this last week?
I told you this last week.
Good one,
little tidbit. Yep.
But just the fact that he's providing that experience off the court as well, I think is phenomenal for their backup unit.
Yep.
But if bringing in the key piece we spoke about last week, and I love him deployed off the bench, you can bring off Karis LeVert off your bench, let him be an out-and-out, just scorching shooter off the bench is huge. Possibly, depending on what lineup they deploy, maybe a Lauri Markkanen as well. My only worry, though, for this team with their bench rotation is their big man depth. You're probably looking at either Kevin Love to play the 5 or Ed Davis. So
it's not.
Depending which route you go, that's so-so. But apart from that, Love, Rondo, LeVert, Markkanen possibly, Osman, I really like the balance they've got. And I think, with that starting 5 they've got in Mobley, Okoro, Allen, Garland, and mate, the other 5th one, depending which lineup they play, they're in a really good position. So I'm super excited about them going into the playoffs.
This is slightly controversial. Well, not even controversial, but I think their second string 5 is better than some of the worst teams' starting 5.
Well, I kind of did my notes in a list of 1, 2, and 3.
I
guess almost lineups, bench lineups I like the most tonight. That was my number 1. So that just shows how highly I think of them. So your point, for me, isn't controversial because I reckon their starting 5 would spank the Orlando Magic.
Wouldn't they?
Pull their pants down and just show them the 50 states.
Yep, they'd have a red bottom.
I don't think so, but... I
you
get
don't.
What you're saying.
You got the Magic.
No, I
don't
mind the Magic.
Bench 5. What do you got? You got the Magic over the bench 5 of the Cleveland.
Yeah, I do. But no, nonetheless, I love players that can come off the bench, but they can be starting. They can be in the starting lineup, but they're so happy to come off the bench and they take pride in it. You look at Karis LeVert as one of those people.
Yep.
I think like Tyler Hero, he could start, but he comes off the bench and thrives. I love those players.
Love that.
What do you got?
My first team is the Golden State Warriors bench. Now, the way that I've put this is if I had my starting 5 going off and I had the bench coming on, how safe would I feel that they wouldn't lose me the game and they could probably, improve the position that I was in before.
Alrighty.
So we look at guys like Jordan Poole, who, before Klay Thompson came back, he was playing career best basketball, and he's had a very good year overall, I think.
Okay.
And then we've got Iguodala, who is full of championship
pedigree, isn't he?
Pedigree, that's the word I'm after.
But Triple H pedigree.
Triple H pedigree for the WWE fans out there. But then you have like dogs like Gary Payton, who he's been absolutely incredible this year in terms of his desire.
Glove 2.0, isn't he?
The Glove
he really
2.0.
is.
He's just in terms of his desire to compete and hustle. These are the guys who you want, on your team. And if he's coming off the bench, he's a guy who won't allow the other second string team to climb back into contention because he wants to win more than anything, and he puts his role on the back seat to serve the team. But then you've got like fairly good role players as well. Belicha, who I've actually been quite impressed with at times this year. He's been very good. And then even like guys like Otto Porter Jr., who's to a certain extent, revitalised his career. He was he was at a crossroads. I feel Otto Porter Jr. He was at the point where his career could fall off the cliff essentially. But he has, and I know it helps being on a very good team like the Warriors, but maybe that's just what it needed.
Like it permeates through, doesn't it? If you've got that talent at the top, it does permeate down through the roster, down to those, I guess, bottom feeders, for lack of better words. It does.
It certainly does. So I named those players, and I've named a couple of really good offensive players, and I've named a few very good defensive players, particularly this year. So I think they've got the even match, and I think it's why at the end of the year, and it's stating the obvious, but Golden State Warriors will be right in contention, because after Steph and Clay and Draymond go off, and Andrew Wiggins as well, they're not going to suffer like some other teams potentially would.
I can't fault you there. I 100% agree. And they're kind of like the Cavs in the sense you've gotten, I guess an equivalent of LeVert, an out-and-out scorer in Jordan Poole.
Yep.
Like Rondo, I guess you've got that veteran experience in Iggy. A defensive stalwart in Gary. Give me gas.
Love Gaz.
Gary Payton 2.0. He is just an absolute menace this season. And a guy who's getting paid chump change. His output is just hugely, hugely beneficial to this team. And I guess, in the last 10 seconds, I really think Steve Kerr missed a trick the other day in their, I guess, their buzzer-beating loss to the Nuggets. The fact that they had Curry on the court, didn't have Gary Payton on, with a couple of seconds to go, was a real miscalculation from him, I believe.
That was
because he has been one of the best defenders this season, Payton. So I'm 100% in agreement.
Yep, love that.
Guys, before we move ahead, we've got to pay the bills. So, Manscaped. My New Year's resolution this year, for anyone who knows me, I've got a background in horticulture. I really pride myself on my lawns. Just last week I bought a new hedge trimmer. Really trying to spend some time in the garden. And there's nothing I love more than a perfectly mowed lawn. Nice green grass, cut down at the right length. That is key. It adds, 100% value to the house. And I think that's the same for your bowls as well. If your bowls are untamed, untrimmed, looking unkept, who wants to go near them?
No
one.
I'm with you 100%.
No one. And I know that firsthand because my sexual encounters have gone to zero with untrimmed bowls.
That's probably not the info we want.
But with your bowls maintained with Manscaped, you're going to look and feel as fresh as my lawns out the front do. Guys, Manscaped, what side are we on the camera there? Manscaped.com are incredible in this regard. They are honestly a true global leader in helping just take your appearance, your grooming game to the next level. We're all feeling fresh this year, aren't we? 2022 is the year of men's cleanliness, men's grooming. So if you want to join us, look and feel as fresh as we do, right down there, manscaped.com, use our code Dribble20. I tell you what, honestly, Lawnmower 4.0, keep your jewels in check. Keep that hair down, keep them fine and maintained. Then you bring it home with the crop revitalizer, little ball deodorant, have them jewels smelling fit for a king. Absolutely. And I tell you what, this stuff, Manscaped, we mentioned it last week, I believe, on our ad read. Little, I guess, bit of growth for you guys as well.
Yes.
It's time to turn that into an aftershave, is it not?
It is.
Is it not?
No, just a deodorant.
A deodorant. There you go.
It's one thing to look good down there. It's another thing to feel good everywhere, because that does make you feel great.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it smells good when you're rubbing the ball deodorant just around here, just so you can.
Not after you've touched your balls.
No, well, obviously not. We're very sophisticated human beings over here, but it smells beautiful. So,
guys, if you want to smell and look as fresh as we do, use that code, link in our bio, manscaped.com.au, Dribble20 to get 20% off plus free delivery. Look and feel as fresh as the Daily Dribble team.
Love that.
Love it. Manscaped, your one-stop shop for everything men's grooming. Woo! Let's go.
Perfect.
Let's go, fellas. Let's move ahead, Lee. Your second team there. What have you got for me, mate?
You're going to laugh. You're probably not going to laugh, but it's not going to make sense for a second because we haven't really seen this bench play. But it's a bench that is going to be amazing, and that's the Brooklyn Nets bench. They're going to be, in my opinion, amazing. You think about who the Nets have out right now. They've got KD out. They've got Simmons out, obviously. They've got Kyrie out for like half the games they play. They've got like Clax out. All the
Joe Harris.
Yeah, Joe Harris out.
Yeah.
All the players that are playing in the starting lineup right now pretty much are going to go to the second stringers, and that is going to be scary because the lineup right now isn't looking too bad. You look who's going to go to the bench. Probably, I don't know, is Seth Curry going to the bench? I'm not sure. But
I don't reckon.
But Patty Mills probably will be. He's a spark plug off the bench. And Andre Drummond. You look at who's that guy right now that's been popping off? Cam Thomas.
He's been good
for the Brooklyn Nets. He's been going insane. So I think
Bruce Brown needs to get minutes.
Yeah, he does.
Double B.
He does. But they're going to be scary once their team is at full health. I think Andre Drummond as a backup center is, I'd say, severely underrated throughout the league because he steps in and does an amazing job.
Again, another player who's almost kind of revitalized his career in that off the bench role. Once he left Detroit, his value almost plummeted.
Yep.
But what he's doing off the bench, phenomenal. So, yeah.
But just quickly though, like in your opinion, why did Andre Drummond, and I know we're diverting a bit, why did his value drop off so suddenly? Because he was a 15 and 15 type player over at the Detroit Pistons. And then all of a sudden he started getting disregarded, started getting undervalued.
Got bounced around here, there, and everywhere.
I was very confused when that happened. But he's already at the Brooklyn Nets showing the value that he'll bring along with Seth Curry as well. But, yeah, it's confusing how these guys drop off the face of the earth in terms of being a valued player.
I feel like he fans and people around the league thought his stats might have been a bit empty.
Almost like a Westbrook, just stat padding to a certain extent.
I don't even think he's stat padding, but he's always got a lot of rebounds. And
maybe it's because he hasn't been on really winning teams.
Maybe.
Yeah, potentially.
But I guess for what you're saying, back on track with the Nets, I'm like... You and I have had some good ones in the last few weeks. I love button heads with
debates. What, do you not agree?
No. But look out, Tiger. I was going to say
Better start chucking hands.
This one I'm 100% in agreement with because at the minute, they broke their 10-game losing streak the other day. But you look at their team as a whole when everyone's fit and healthy. The key, I guess, caveat on that being that everyone will be healthy. If you've got Kevin Durant, you've got Kyrie Irving, hopefully playing, Ben Simmons. Another name you didn't mention, LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, but he's in the starters though.
He won't be possibly when those other players come back.
Yeah.
But just as a whole, their whole squad construction.
Clax and underrated.
Big Clax. The shooters they've got, Joe Harris, Seth Curry. I am super, super scared of this team. And just the way, I guess, recency bias, people are probably disregarding them a little bit. But if everything clicks, their roster as a whole is, I reckon, the most talented within the league.
Yes, I'd agree. 100%.
So, no fault from me here on this one, Lee.
Good.
My second one, I've gone maybe slightly left of field here. I've gone the Dallas Mavericks.
All right, let's hear.
Now, I'm pretty high on their depth, and this is depending on, I guess, with their recent acquisition, if they start, I guess, in that kind of other guard role, if they start Dinwiddie or Brunson. Now, we've seen what Dinwiddie can do, more in particular with the Nets. His time with the Wizards was somewhat lackluster. But Jalen Brunson, I think, has been one of the standout performers this year that's gone kind of unnoticed.
Yes.
When he was coming off the bench, phenomenal. He's now in a starting role. But again, as I said, alluded to, depending on which way they go with their guard situation, you're either going to have Dinwiddie or Brunson coming off the bench. Love that. Another player who's struggled in Washington, but we've seen what he's capable of. Davis Bertans.
Yeah, Bertie's look not bad.
You need an out-and-out shooter. He's going to be able to space the floor. When that guy, he's either 0 or 100. You're either getting 0 of 7 from 3 or you're getting 6 of 7. The guy has got 2 speeds. So, if you get him on a good night, he's lights out. And I think when Hardaway Jr. comes back, he'd already been relegated to the bench. But we've seen what he's capable of. He's another guy who can handle the ball alongside that other guard, and Brunson or Dinwiddie, and can just cook on any given night. So I really like that. Josh Green developing as well. In the back, yeah, absolutely. Aussie pride, we love that. In the backup big role, you've got Kleber, or maybe a guy I'd love to see more of, Big Bobby.
Love that guy.
Honestly, I don't know why these big guys like this, like Bobby, they're just not just just set them up with real estate in the paint
Yeah.
and just let them sit under the
Absolutely.
hoop and
Yep.
just dunk every ball because no one's getting near them.
And that's what he does. Like
Yeah.
the Dallas Mavericks games that I've watched, that's what they do with him. They chuck him in or around the paint, and
Yes.
anytime he grabs it, he almost throws it down into the
Yes,
basket.
he doesn't have to
It's
jump.
unbelievable.
You back that up with players like Trey Burke, Frankie Smokes, Frankie Ntilikina, Marquise Chris. They've got enough, good talent off the bench, but they've got depth as well. I think, again, they're a team that's got that nice mix of shooting, Bertans, ball handling in either Brunson or Dinwiddie. You've got a really capable big in Kleber who has the ability to stretch the floor. He's pretty dynamite from three, by big man standards. I think they've got a well-rounded team. And to be honest, I think I might have said this last week, but I like their ball handling situation a lot more without KP. So what do you feel about this one on the Mavs?
Usually when you say something with confidence, it usually I'm like, yeah, I agree with him because you say it with such confidence.
Confidence is key.
I know you said Maxi Kleber is a good backup center, and you said that with such confidence, but I just don't agree with you, to be honest. I don't think he's the guy for that role. I like him on the team, but he's not supposed to be a backup center. I think
what do you think he is in?
I don't know, but my point is that they need more reliable centers.
You don't like Maxi?
I do, but not as a backup center.
So what is he then?
A power forward? I'd put him in the PF role. I don't want him at my 5. No.
I think he's a really good, capable, center. I think he can do a role, or if not, if you want to deploy a bigger lineup, put him at the power forward and bring Bobby on. I am more than happy to play Bobby.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that too. I like you guys said, I don't know why they're not playing Bobby.
I think if I'm the Dallas Mavericks with Kleber, I think I'm happy for him. I'm happy with him as being a versatile player who can do a bit of everything and can spread the floor a bit. I'm not happy with him being my rim protector. I'm not happy if he's coming up against a guy who's dangerous in the paint. He'll stand no chance. But he's got his merits, and I think he provides a lot of value for that Dallas Mavericks team, given the fact that there's big men out there who simply have to stay in the paint, and that's just about it. But he can do a bit of everything, so I actually don't mind it.
Brilliant. What have you got for us there, Ro, on your second team or player, whichever route you want to go?
Yeah, another team, and it's another team who have been performing incredibly well this year, and they performed incredibly well last year, and that's the Phoenix Suns. Now, this team, incredible team chemistry. I would go as far as to say that their team chemistry is better than any other team in the league.
Yes, and winning helps that.
Winning does help that, absolutely. But they've just got the kind of guys on their team, both in the starting lineup and on the bench, who play their role and play their role beautifully.
Yes.
So we look at on the bench, JaVale McGee, for a long time, he was considered a Shaqtin' a Fool type player.
The meme king.
He was a meme king, but he plays his role so perfectly for the Phoenix Suns, and I think he'll be a fairly significant reason off the bench as to why they go well if they can go deep into the season.
Absolutely.
He's a double threat every night.
Yes.
Then we look at guys like Cam Payne. He's just a guy who's really good for chemistry and gets along with everyone, but plays his role perfectly. A really handy guard off the bench. But then we've got a few other names. Torrey Craig, who's come back home to the Phoenix Suns, so bolsters to their existing deep
and that's
bench.
What they did in that trade deadline. They didn't make any big moves because they didn't really have to, but they brought players back like Craig and a couple of other moves around the fringes just to enhance what they've already got.
Oh, they did, absolutely. And then we've got other really handy players. So we've got Elfrid Payton off the bench, who seems to have come into his own since coming onto a good team. He's been playing for awful teams for so long. It's about time he, went onto a team who knows what they're doing. And you look at guys even like Biyombo, Saric.
I'll tell you what, just on Biyombo, their big man depth now with what McGee's produced this year, and Biyombo, he has been wicked.
He's been so good.
That chemistry between him and Chris Paul, just literally lob it up to him every time in the that combo has been awesome. And the fact that you can have not only one but two really capable backup big men. We saw when Ayton was out, McGee and Biombo to carry the team in that centre role are hugely on board with this.
I'm so glad you brought that up about Biombo because he's one of these guys who I feel has got little to no publicity or coverage this year, which is pretty inexcusable if you're an NBA fan, because if you've watched Phoenix Suns games, which they're an exciting team, and I feel like most people would have watched a fair bit of their games. Biombo's been amazing for the Phoenix Suns, just adding to their ever-growing depth.
Yes.
I still think, for me, it's changed a few times. I still think Phoenix Suns are my ultimate pick to win the championship this year.
Well, I've got a question for you a little bit later in the show, so I'll save it for that. But it's hard to argue given their track record so far this season.
Yep,
100% in agreement, lads. For the third and final one, we're going to do a bit of a speed round here. So, Lee, what have you got for us?
I didn't even know we had a third. I don't even, and to be honest, I didn't know we could put players in here, so I have no notes. But I'm not going to do a 6-man and a bench segment without mentioning Tyler Hero, because that'd be almost criminal. This guy, absolutely. I think, is front running for 6-man of the year. Would he be
running away with it possibly?
Oh, he's going to win it without a doubt.
Yeah. The resurgence from last year, I think everyone was so low on him last year. He's just proved all the haters wrong. He comes on, he leads that second squad, and he's still pretty young. He's like leading like Yurt7 and all of those pieces.
Oh, he's been a wicked pickup too.
He has been, yeah. And to be honest, I wouldn't mind to see Dunk Rob go to the bench, to be honest, and bring like Struce on, Maxi Struce, because I feel like who was I just talking about? Dunk Rob. I think Dunk Rob, I think Dunk Rob has a bit too much responsibility right now, and I think it's a bit overwhelming. I think it, well, maybe not responsibility.
All he has to do is when you've got Jimmy, Tucker, Lowry, Bam, all he has to do is spot up in the corner and make sure he hits shots.
I think he's overwhelmed nonetheless. I like to see him in that bench role. But Hero, can we talk about him for a sec?
Bowler this season. As you said, after what was a pretty kind of coming-of-age season the season before, last season was pretty lackluster. But this season, this guy has been dynamite. Just having, we've spoken about just in the last 10, 15 minutes of guys who can come off the bench and cook. He is the chef. He is the head chef of a 5-star Michelin. Yes. Is it with the Michelin? Is it 3 or 5 stars a high?
It's 3.
3. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Good stuff. He's the head chef of a 3-star Michelin restaurant, because that guy comes out and he is not afraid of anything. He takes the game on and steps into everything with confidence. And what I've liked this season is probably his playmaking ability has kind of come along. As much of an out-and-out scorer as he is, almost in a Jordan Clarkson-esque vein, his playmaking side of things has developed as well. So I love it. No complaints from me whatsoever.
Neither.
My one may be controversial. I'll rip through it pretty quickly. The Lakers.
Why?
Now, it's funny given how...
nothing that you say with confidence will break through.
Confidence is key. You've got to say
Austin Reeves. He's no Alex Caruso.
He's got the same skin tone. Yeah. There's a world in which I think this still works. And it hasn't as of yet, but I think there is, if you look into it, a world in which it works. In terms of the talent, they are right up there. Carmelo Anthony started the season phenomenally and could have been argued as a 6th man of the year candidate pretty early on. His shooting was just on point. His ability in the clutch was huge, and having that other option to confidently, I didn't say that very confidently, confidently knock down a bucket is huge. With Bradley, Taylor Horton Tucker off the bench, they've got ball handling, they've got competency in that area. I guess in terms of big men, I still think Dwight Howard can perform a role admirably.
Sure. So do I.
If he goes down, you've got DeAndre Jordan, a guy you wouldn't entrust with your life, but can still provide backup minutes if need be. So they've got big man depth there.
Yep.
In terms of Austin Reeves, who you just spoke about, Lee, a couple of times this season, he is really, I'm not touting his praises too highly yet, but the fact that he is not afraid of the moment, he's hit pretty well a couple of game winners this season. I would classify just about that 3 he had against the Jazz the other day as a game winner, because it almost put things out of reach. What he's doing is awesome. The way these guys in LeBron are guiding him and I guess nurturing him almost. is fantastic. So I hope to see him develop. Shooting in Ellington, Bazemore, and Trevor Ariza. Again, not guys you'd entrust with your life, but there's a world in which, with the playmaking of Bradley and Horton Tucker, the ball handling, the big man depth, and spacing the floor with those shooters, there's a world in which it works.
There's a world in which it works, and that world was about 7 years ago. Because they would be great if they played together 7 years ago. I think you've just got too much
there is too
nostalgia.
much age there. There is but I do think there is the potential that it could work this season. I think it's a fair shout as to what you said because they are getting over the hill a little bit. But I'm still holding hope. I still think in terms of out and out talent, this bench is right up there.
Look, I agree. At full strength, that it's similar to the Nets in my mind. I think at full strength, they have what it takes to be like championship contenders, obviously, and their bench would have to play a huge part in that.
Yep.
I think based off what we've seen so far, I can see what Lee's saying in terms of it's hard to see a world in which their bench is playing at their full capacity. But I think they do have the potential to reach it.
What have you got?
Like my team, and I know this seems like an absolute love fest at the end.
Here we go.
I have been, and it might be recency bias because we've been on an absolute roll lately. But the
on
Boston
heater.
Celtics. Have you watched many Boston Celtics games lately? Like, honest to God, they might not have the most glamorous players coming off the bench. In fact, the players that are coming off the bench are sort of just battlers and guys who give their all, but they might not be the most skilled. But sometimes that's all it takes to give your absolute best. And particularly lately, I'm not going to go as far as to say that it's been a whole season effort because it hasn't been, but particularly lately, and it's been promising. We've been incredible.
Good.
Just in terms of intensity off the bench, wanting to win, which we lacked for such a big part of the opening bit of the season. And I'm glad that we were mentioning last week during the trade segment, Daniel Tice. Oh my goodness, I'm glad to have Danny Tice back because he brings so much to this team in terms of intensity, want to win, just an absolute grinder. Love that guy. And now that we've got guys like Derek White he's more than happy to play his role. He played his role on the San Antonio Spurs. And we've also got guys like Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard, Naismith, I guess, is another guy.
The stretch.
I could see you about to laugh there. And
to be honest, I tell you what, the hay fever's hit me hard today. I'm trying not to sneeze.
Maybe they just needed a switch up because they got rid of Schroeder. They brought in.
God, I tell you what, I'm having a shocker.
That might be the fifth time the phone's dropped.
I tell you what, I'm having a shocker.
No, but look, getting back to the Celtics, I implore anyone who hasn't watched many of their recent games to watch how their bench performs when they come on, because they're not going to, just because they don't possess the talent that their starting five does with, Jace Tatum and Jaylen Brown, doesn't mean that they're going to give up the lead. So I think they've been incredible. Bit of recency bias, bit of just normal bias towards my own team, but they've been great.
Lads, I tell you what, it's been, I found this almost quite difficult to almost condense it because there's a world in which you can almost make a case for most teams if you look into it. That
Not most teams. Not all teams.
Give me one team that you would not have looked at.
You just look at the bottom dwellers like Detroit, OKC.
More focusing on the playoff teams.
Lakers. No.
It's also tough though, because what I noticed is that there's specific players who have performed really well off the bench this year, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their bench overall has been impressive this year. So it's hard to not mention these type of players. Like even like the Hornets, like with Kelly Oubre Jr., I've been really impressed with him off the bench this year. Didn't necessarily want to mention the bench overall as being super impressive, but I think he definitely deserves a mention.
Tell you what, just quickly, a little shout out once again to Manscaped, because I have really been putting in the hard yards on the old lawnmower 4.0 and whatnot, out in the garden and whatnot, because this hay fever has hit me like a freight train today.
Oh, no.
God damn, my facial expressions I feel like who's probably Jim Carrey? He's probably got one of the best set of facial expressions in the game, doesn't he? My eyes and mouth have been doing absolute bits out here. So
Jeez, you've soldiered on throughout this episode, though, Nick. You deserve a medal.
What was the word you used a moment ago about the Celtics Rowe, battler.
You're a battler.
Couple of battlers out here.
Absolutely.
Couple of battlers, me and the Celtics out here. Fellas, let's move ahead though.
The Daily Dribble.
So that was certainly enjoyable recapping some of the players we don't talk about as much.
Yeah.
What we're going to do quickly though, the week that was from the NBA, a couple of the quick talking points to come out of it.
Right.
I'm going to start just quickly with the Celtics. During the week, they went down just before the All-Star break to Detroit by a point in what was quite an upset result and quite a frenetic finish. But during the week, a 9-game win streak. After, I guess, almost essentially looking like I guess, written off this season.
A rattle.
Yes, absolutely. They're sitting 6th in the league, or in the East, should I say.
Yep.
Only a couple of games back at the top spot, playing hard on D, the ball's popping around. Should East teams start to be fearing the Celtics? Like they're almost not flying under the radar, but they are really mounting, I guess, legitimacy in their cause to be a contender.
Absolutely, I think, and this is with my Celtics hat on and off. I think if you're an opposition team coming up against the Celtics, as they've been playing, particularly over the last few weeks, that they have to be feared. Now, look, we've seen the Celtics in the opening part of the season, and they were awful. So they've got a long way to go in terms of stringing together very good performances over a long period of time. Because I would say so far this season, bless you, Lee, that their bad performance have outweighed their good performances.
Yep.
In saying that, 6 at the moment, as you said, only a few games behind the top spot. Who knows what they could achieve? I think at their best, they can contend with the best of them. Makes
such a difference now the ball's popping around, because in that first half of the season where they were, kind of in disarray, it was so much ISO ball. And as much as we kind of love Jason Tatum, a big part of that was him.
It was,
but now that the ball's moving around, they're getting players involved and kind of trusting in one another. I love, as a Lakers fan, against a Celtics fan, love almost bashing on them to a certain extent, but you can't be anything but happy with what you've seen over the last few weeks.
And when you're up in the 4th by 50 against Philadelphia, that speaks words.
That was disgusting. That was crazy.
What even happened that game?
I'm a Celtics supporter through and through, but that game was filthy. It was disgusting. Like, I didn't want to watch it because it was such a bad game.
Yeah, no, that was something else. Something else as well. Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey, he was big time in his first game at Madison Square Garden. They beat the Knicks 127-123 in overtime. Giddey, 28 points, a career high, 11 rebounds, 12 assists, went 3 of 4 from 3. And now the history book reads, for the top 4 youngest triple-doubles of all time, Josh Giddey at 1, Josh Giddey at 2, Josh Giddey at 3, and how about that, Josh Giddey at 4?
That's unbelievable.
This guy is playing on a different level at the minute. As a rookie, he's just, granted he's playing in a situation where he's given almost the keys alongside Shea. But what he's doing on a nightly basis is phenomenal.
How many triple-doubles does he want, though? He's just a triple-double threat on a nightly basis. He's so good to watch. As we were saying the other week, though, he's just exceeded our expectations. We knew how good he was in the NBL last year.
Whose expectations?
Well, I think it's safe to say he's been better than even we thought he would be in his first season.
Absolutely.
The Thunder have got a good one there. They've got such a good one. The future is so bright for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I was about to say, if you're a new person coming into the league and you want to jump on a team, you don't want to look like a bandwagoner, but you want to have a fair bit of success in the next decade, the Thunder are your team.
That's the team, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, just in terms of like draft picks, existing really good young players, they're the team for sure.
Lee Giddey, what do you reckon? Rookie of the year? Strong contender?
Well, I think it was last week or the week before. I was like, nah, I love Giddey and I love what he's doing, but he's not winning that rookie of the year.
But when you're getting these headlines, hey, it helps.
And now it's scary. Now that I'm like seeing these headlines and what he's actually doing, I saw that NBA post. He was 3rd on the rookie of the year ladder.
Yep.
I think there's a chance.
How has he not been in contention so far?
I know. That's what I kind of found surprising about everything that's come out this week. The fact that he hasn't gained enough traction so far, I found surprising, given he was it Western Conference Rookie of the Month? Or was it Rookie? No, it was full slate. Rookie of the month in November, December, and January.
Yeah, 3 in a row.
Like 3 in a row. And the fact he wasn't in that Rookie of the Year conversation alongside Mobley, Barnes, Cunningham was really surprising. So
it's odd.
I tell you what, he hits a couple more triple doubles. Look out.
Yep.
Now, I've got a question for you two. I said I'd touch on it later in the episode regarding the Phoenix Suns. They currently sit with a record of 48-10.
Jeez.
Phenomenal stuff.
Yep.
I've got a question. The over, I'm going to set an over or under here. You're going to tell me whether they're going to go over or under.
Okay.
I'm going to set it at 67.5 wins. Do you think they get under or over that?
82 games.
So that means they
So
lose.
they would have to go 20-4 for the rest of the season to hit the over.
I think they're hitting the over without even looking at the
Woo!
schedule to run home the season, to be perfectly honest, just based off what I've seen
Let's
so
go.
far this season. I'm surprised these days when they lose a game, to be perfectly
Yes.
honest. They're so good, so well-oiled. Team chemistry, as I was mentioning before, is incredible. I think they're going over that.
And should they hit it, they're in the upper echelon of teams of all time.
Really?
Like
Yeah,
73-9 is the all-time record. So if they get 68 wins, I think it'll be the third highest of all time. Don't quote me on it. I believe alongside the Warriors at 1, the Bulls at 2 there, and then I think the Suns. If memory serves correct, don't hold me to that.
Yep.
But Lee, what do you reckon? Over or under?
I think they can probably do it.
20-4, they've got to go.
Yeah, sure. I reckon they can do it, but it doesn't matter if they don't show up in the playoffs, which I hope they will.
Wait, what?
It doesn't matter if they don't show up in the playoffs.
Wait, what do you mean?
The Phoenix Suns.
What do you mean if they don't show up?
I think what Lee's saying is, regardless of if they, meet that record, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter going into the playoffs.
It doesn't matter if they don't perform how they are right now in the
I thought
playoffs.
you meant it doesn't matter if they don't perform in the playoffs. I was like, what?
If that, yeah.
I think
I'm with you. I'm with you now.
I think they're 100% certain to perform in the playoffs, whether that means winning the championship, whether it means going to the finals. I think they'll be there at the very, very pointy end of the year, based off what we've seen so far this year. They're a team to be reckoned with.
It's a funny one, this over-under. Because I kind of adjusted it. During the week, I had it at a slightly lower point, I think a game less, and I bumped it up. Just looking at what they've got to do in it. I guess it's their mentality, whether they want to really go for it and assert themselves as one of the greatest all-time teams in terms of regular season records, or whether they want to kind of, they're going to finish number 1 seed. The Warriors have dropped off in recent weeks. The Grizz aren't going to catch them. And whether they kind of rest these bodies like Chris Paul, like an Ayton who's had some injury troubles, Devin Booker. I'm going to say the over, though, just because even if you look at some of the players, if a Chris Paul misses a game or a DeAndre Ayton misses a game, just spoke about McGee, Biyombo, they've got enough cover there. This team's super, super exciting. I reckon so would you guys in the West have them as making the NBA Finals against a competitor from the East? Are they making the NBA Finals?
Right now, yes.
They're my pick to take it all.
Probably underrated, aren't they? They've been underrated.
I was actually just about to mention that. How is it that they've had the season they've had so far? Yet
48-10, they are leading the league by a mile in terms of overall record.
Could you imagine if this was the Lakers, who are 48-10? They'd be over every Bleacher Report, ESPN headline.
What would I give for that?
But no, they've been incredible. They haven't been spoken about as much as they probably should be. I'm very, very high on the Phoenix Suns.
I think it's because this year, I'm hearing more out of the East, a lot more.
East has been electric.
I think they're just putting East in the media a lot
Which
more.
is good. I like that. The fact that now the league, the conferences are starting to balance out.
Because how long were the West touted as being the dominant conference? And now,
since I can remember.
Yeah, same here.
So very happy.
It's great for the league.
Lads, it has been a massive week of action. I tell you what, though, going on as we speak, NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yes.
We're going to do a recap next week. Super keen to break down all that news. This is an exciting time for us. Guys, we're going to be back next week. All-Star Weekend, enjoy it. We certainly will. Be sure to like, subscribe, do all that great stuff wherever you listen to the show. We certainly appreciate all your support. Check out the Spotlight Sports Network as well as the cover. You can find all of our episodes there. Anything else from you, fellas?
Dribble 20.
Dribble20, manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you, and so will we. Till next week, guys. Love you. Bye.